start by just sharing a little bit about the National Teach to Lead program, which is really the driving force behind our Maryland Teacher Leadership Summit. I'm sure that you've seen some of this information on our website. If you're here, then you've already done a little bit of research on your own. You already know a little bit about the program. But I just want to start by just digging in and really talking for just a few minutes about the purpose of the program and why we're all investing our time, our energy, and our resources into these 2 days, and really the rest of the school year, next school year. So the National Teacher Lead program is based on a belief system that within every school there is a sleeping giant of teacher leadership that can be a strong catalyst for making change if awakened. And you're here because you have a plan to awaken and to engage the teacher leaders in your building and to leverage their expertise to create a positive change for your teachers, for your students, and for your school community. The Teach to Lead program envisions a world in which teachers are valued as the foremost experts in instruction, and as such, they're leaders of informing, developing, and implementing educational policy and practice in order to steer systematic improvements to benefit student learning. While this is an aspirational vision, we know that we're not there yet, and there's a lot of work to be done. And the Teach to Lead program tries to make these beliefs actionable through their Powered by Teach to Lead summits. These summits bring together 4 levels of stakeholder engagement. So the first level is the U.S. Department of Education. The second is us here at MSDE. The third is school teams. That's most of you on the call. And the fourth are critical friends. That's the other of you folks who are on the call today. So these summits bring all 4 levels together in order to improve systems for students. So we're going to take a couple of minutes and just dig into the roles and responsibilities of each one. So the first level is the U.S. Department of Education. So the Teach to Lead Summit expands opportunities for teacher leaders by providing templates, materials, structures, and frameworks for the summit, and encouraging professional collaborations to support the work of the states. So this program is a federal program. It was created by the federal government and disseminated through states. So we at the state level are really implementing a program that was created by the feds. So our responsibilities at the state, and I probably should have introduced myself. If you don't know me, I'm Heather Sowers. I'm the coordinator of professional learning in Title II Part A. I tend to just jump right into things and not do all the pleasantries that we should be doing in effective virtual meetings. So I'm sorry about that, but I coordinate our professional learning programs at the State Department. So when I talk about MSDE, I'm talking about myself. So we at MSDE, our responsibilities in this program is we provide you the resources that you need to make your ideas actionable. So that starts with meeting space. So we've booked the space for you. We've set time aside. We know that in schools, there are so many great ideas that just never get off the ground because the planning teams don't have the time to get together to make these ideas actionable. So we really know how much you guys value your time, and that's one of the resources we provide to you is a time and a space to meet. We also provide grant funding up to $10,000 to fund the project. So you guys saw this on your applications. You were able to request funding and tell us how much you needed and how you were planning to spend it. Many of you said you did not need funding. That is still up for debate. If you decide during the summit that you do need funding, it's not too late to request funding. Or let's say you requested $7,000, but during your planning, you realize that you might actually need $9,200. It's not too late to revise your request for funding up to $10,000. So we at MSDE also facilitate stakeholder consultation. So what that means is we have assigned you a critical friend, and we're going to get into the role of the critical friend in a few minutes. But we have assigned each school team a critical friend to provide a thought partnership outside of your school, outside of your school system, but someone that can provide you some feedback and can kind of push on your ideas. And most of the time, for most of the school teams, we were able to assign someone who has a really significant level of expertise around the content of your project. So for example, there were some schools who are focusing on formative assessment, and we have Chris Miller here, who is the guru of formative assessment. She's the coordinator of formative assessment for Charles County. So she's here as an expert in formative assessment, partnered as a critical friend for that school team who was focusing on formative assessment in those schools. So for most of you school teams, we were able to get someone, a stakeholder who has a lot of experience, a lot of expertise in your topic, and you're going to get to meet them today. At MSDE, we also provide follow-up support. So we'll be following you throughout the course of the school year, checking in with you, seeing how your project is going, seeing if there are additional supports that we can offer to you. And then finally, we monitor your implementation. So because there are federal grant funds associated with your programs, it's required by the law that we monitor the implementation of the programs that are utilizing these federal funds. So these are your taxpayer dollars, and we need to make sure that they're being spent in a responsible way and that we're seeing some impact of those dollars. So you can expect some monitoring processes to happen throughout the school year, and we'll talk about that in more detail at the summit. So for the bulk of you who are on the call, you're a part of a school team. So what you'll be doing during the summit is really developing and implementing an approach to address a need that you have already identified. So in your application, you said, hey, we have this issue, we have this problem, or we have this idea of something that needs to change in our school. So during the summit, you're going to dig deep into that problem. You're going to do a little mini root cause analysis to determine what you think are some of the factors or the correlations or the causes of the need that you're seeing. And then you're going to really flesh out a plan for how you're going to tackle that problem. What are your intended outcomes? What are the activities that you're going to design to address those problems? And how are you going to evaluate the impact of those activities? How are you going to measure growth around your need? So you'll plan for evaluation, and you'll also plan for sustainability. So we're giving you up to $10,000 for 1 year, but then the grant funds are gone. So we really want you thinking about how can you continue this work after the $10,000 is no more? How can you continue making progress with this area once Teach to Lead is over? And finally, an additional responsibility is for you to participate collaboratively with us in the monitoring process. So again, for compliance purposes, we have to have a site visit. We need to come out and talk about how your program's going, how funds are being spent. And so we need your cooperation in those monitoring visits. They're pretty informal, but just a heads up that we'll be planning those pretty much for the spring. They tend to happen in the spring of the following school year. So that would be spring of 2022. You can invite us in anytime, really, to see the work that's happening, but we'd like to have everything kind of wrapped up in the spring. So the rest of you who are on the call, if you're not a part of a school team, that means that you are here as a critical friend. So your responsibilities as a critical friend, first and foremost, is to become a part of the team. So we really want you to feel like an integrated member of the team who is tackling this problem or this need that they've identified. A couple of critical friends asked us, well, I don't work in that school system, or this is an elementary school and I have a high school background. And that's okay. There's a lot of value in offering different perspectives. So sometimes we get really entrenched in our school culture and our school systems culture. And we don't always see that there are other ways to do things because because this is kind of all we know, or this is how we've always done things. And so it's good sometimes to have a perspective coming from a different school system, maybe a different grade level. The role of the critical friend is to ask probing and challenging questions. The role is not to say, everything looks great, I'm here if you need me. That's not the role of the critical friend. The word critical is in there for a reason, because we really want you to challenge the thinking of the school team, provide that differing perspective. Another role of the critical friend is to suggest resources. So again, if you are an expert in this field, draw on your expertise, draw on your research, draw on the resources that you've created and that you know are valuable in this field, and share those resources with the school team. Another role of the critical friend is to help teams hear what they are saying, and that can be done really effectively by paraphrasing and summarizing what you're hearing. So if any of you have been in a coaching role, you know one of the things that coaches do all the time is, so what I'm hearing you say is, stopping, pausing, clarifying what you're hearing, make sure that the team is on the same page. Again, when you're an outsider in a school dynamic, sometimes those of you who are in this school dynamic, you kind of just know what the other person's thinking and saying, and maybe not what they're hearing and feeling though. So it's good as the critical friend to say, what I'm hearing you say is, or this is bubbling up for me. Is this bubbling up for anyone else? So as a person who's not entrenched in that school dynamic, we really hope that you'll be able to kind of paraphrase what you're hearing and make sure that everyone on the team is on the same page moving forward. It can be a little difficult to do when you're a part of the team, the school team. Throughout the school year, we hope that you'll be checking in with your school team, and we'll talk about what that looks like in a little bit. But when this 2-day summit is over, we don't want the critical friends to just drop off and for the school team to no longer have the support of that critical friend. So we do ask that the critical friend check in every 30, 60, and the first 30, 60, and 90 days after the summit is over. And then we will also invite them to be a part of monitoring as well. So that's the last bullet there. So when MSDE schedules the monitoring visit with the school team, we will invite the critical friend to be a part of that, to come out and attend the site visit. We know that some of you will be able to, and some of you will not be able to attend, and that's okay. Okay, I want to stop and pause. This is supposed to be very informal, so at any time, if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask them. I do have time to pause and give you a chance to ask questions. So this is one of those times. Anyone have any questions about the roles or responsibilities of you at the school level, or you as a critical friend, or any expectations of us before we move on?
Before you move on, I have a question, but I can wait for.
Go ahead.
There are 2 people who called in with phone numbers. There's one that starts with 240 and ends in 33, and then the other one is 301 and ends in 97. If you can just let me know who you are, and if you joined us late, the reason for that is we're going to put you in breakout rooms so the school teams and critical friends can meet. And I would need to know what school you are, if you were the school team, or your name.
So let's start with the 240. If you're calling in with the 240 number, can you just unmute yourself and tell us who you are?
Yes, please.
Hi, I think I might be the 301, but the 240 is, I'm not quite sure which one is which, but I would assume that it's Tanya Fox, that's myself, and the other one is Amy Hoffman, Tashion Hoffman. We're both from Yale Bailey.
Okay.
Yale Bailey. Okay.
Great. I'll just move you both to get. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So any other questions about the roles and responsibilities, or what the program is all about? Okay. So let's talk about some of the logistical stuff, what to expect at the summit and following the summit. So this is a very, very basic agenda. The more detailed agenda is in a resource folder, which you'll get access to in just a few minutes. But on Sunday, the night before the event, we'll have an optional networking event. So one of the things that we believe is that a key lever to pull with our teacher leaders is to build their networks of other like-minded teacher leaders. It's really important to meet people like yourself who have the same aspirations and goals and beliefs around education that are outside of your school or your school system. And so we want to provide opportunities for you to meet, talk, network, and get to know each other. So there will be an optional networking event Sunday night at 6 o'clock at the Blackwall Hitch, which is this very cool little spot in Annapolis. And the address is there, 400 6th Street. It's in downtown Annapolis, so beautiful location. None of us have been there before, so we can't really speak to exactly what it's going to be like, but based on the website and the reviews, it looks awesome. So we asked you guys on your registration if you were planning to attend the networking event, and you either said yes, no, or undecided. If you said yes, we're counting you in the head count when we make our reservation, unless we hear from you otherwise. If you said no, we're not counting you in the head count, unless we hear that you do plan to attend, and that's okay. And if you said undecided, then we would love for you to let us know as soon as possible if you plan to attend. That way we can get the Blackwall Hitch an accurate head count of how many people are going to be there in our group. Right now, it's looking like we've got about 30 people who have committed to attending networking events, so that's pretty cool. So on Monday, the event will begin at 8 a.m. And it will run until 3:30. So we'll kick off the meeting on Monday with a networking breakfast. Both days there will be a networking breakfast. It's a light breakfast. One day the breakfast is going to be provided by MSDE. The next day the breakfast is going to be provided by ACE, American College of Education. They come and distribute materials for graduate courses that they offer, and they bring us breakfast. So it's very nice of them. So we'll start with networking breakfast both days from about 8 to 8:15. We'll have a keynote on Monday. I'm super excited about this year's keynote. We try to mix it up. We have different people function as keynote speakers every year. And this year I'm super excited because we have a former team leader who has engaged in the Teach to Lead program for the last few years. And she is going to speak to you a little bit about the impact of her Teach to Lead program on her school and how her school culture has changed and what data they've collected and what evidence they see of the impact of their program on their school. So I'm really excited about that keynote. So the bulk of the time that you're spending together on Monday is going to be working on your logic model, which is another word for an action plan, basically. So you'll be spending the bulk of the time with your team developing that logic model. And again, the day ends at 3:30 on Monday. On Tuesday, again, we'll start at 8 o'clock. We're going to jump right in. You're going to have a few minutes to wrap up any loose ends on your action planning from Monday. Then we're going to dig into some opportunities for feedback. So we're going to talk about advocacy and how you can advocate for your team and your plan in your school and in your community. And then we're going to be engaging in something called consideration rotations, which is an opportunity to give feedback to other teams on their plan and for those teams to give you feedback on your plan. And then we'll wrap up the day with talking a little bit about grant management. So again, this is another opportunity for you as teacher leaders to develop a new skill set. Managing a budget. Some of you do that if you're a department chair, if you're a department chairman, a grade level coordinator, administrator, you have experience with that, but many people don't. So there's a lot to learn about how to manage a grant. So we're going to spend a little bit of time together on Tuesday talking about grant management and the responsibilities that you have in managing these Title II funds. This is just a picture of what the logic model looks like. Just wanted to throw that up there for you. You can see all these sticky notes on the left-hand side of the screen. That's all the feedback that the teams have gotten during the consideration rotations. Those are little sticky notes of feedback that the team has gotten on their logic models. Just wanted to show you what that looks like. So we talked about the short term, what the 2 days are going to look like. Now, what does the long term look like? So critical friends, as I mentioned, we will ask you to follow up with your teams 30 days in, then 60 days in, and then 90 days in. Check up on their progress, see if you can support them, see if there are additional resources that they may need. And we'll also invite you, again, to attend that monitoring and support visit that we'll be scheduling with the school team. So what you can expect from us, again, we'll be checking in with you periodically to see if you've spent down your grant. You have a firm deadline of spending down your grant by June 30th of 2022. You've got to spend those funds by June 30th, or they get returned to the federal government, which is not a good thing. So we want to make sure we'll be checking in with you to see how your spend down's going. We'll be checking in to see if you have any programmatic questions or if there's any additional supports that we can offer you at the state level. Okay, questions about the agenda. We're going to get into some logistics, hotels, food, the event space, all that stuff in just a minute. But any questions about the program itself? Feel free to unmute yourself if you do. Okay, I don't think so. All right, so we're going to move on and spend just a few minutes talking about some logistical information. So you noticed on your registration, we asked you if you lived more than 50 miles away from the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. And if you clicked yes, we told you that we would get you a hotel room, and you told us what nights you needed them. You either said you needed it just Sunday night, just Monday night, or both nights. So we are using the information that you gave us on that registration to book hotels for you. Right now, it's still TBA what hotel we're going with. You know, we have procurement issues here at MSD, so things take a little longer than they always need to. So we don't have the hotel information for you just yet, but we'll get that to you probably in the next week or two. And we will be booking those hotels with you directly. I will say, not a year goes by that we don't have issues with the hotel. Inevitably, every year there's someone who was not paid for, left off the list, something like that. If that is you, if you get to the hotel and they say you told us that you needed a room, but they don't have your information, or they tell you that you have to pay for it, I'm going to drop Jen's going to drop, I'll do it right now. I'm going to drop my cell phone number in the chat right now for you. Don't panic if that happens to you. Just text me and I will handle it, okay? We will take good care of you, but inevitably there will always be some issue with the hotel. So if you show up and something doesn't seem right to you, just shoot me a text and I'll be there to troubleshoot any problems. So the event location, this location takes place at the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. The address is right here on the screen. Again, it's a really beautiful facility right on the water. They have a little sandy beach area. There's piers. You can walk out on the pier. It's a really beautiful location. A couple of things. It is a green campus. So what that means is they have, what's really fun and exciting to talk about is they have a compostable toilet. So if you've never used one, you feel a little breeze when you're using the bathroom. So that's really interesting. So don't be alarmed if you go to the bathroom and you feel a little cold air. They do not allow, or they ask you to reduce disposable items. So we ask everyone to bring their own reusable water bottle. So like we're not providing plastic water bottles because again, that goes against the Green Campus policy. So they do have a water cooler. So we just ask you to bring your own reusable water bottle so that you can get water from the water cooler. You know, any kind of lunch items that you bring, they'll ask you to sort what can be composted, what can be recycled, and what's trash. Another thing to know is the air conditioning is not going to be on full blast. It's never uncomfortable. I've never been uncomfortable, at least. But if you're a person who gets really hot really easily, dress accordingly because the temperature is not going to be super cold. It'll be kind of room temperature and temperate, but not cool. Another thing to consider is parking. So we are allotted 40 parking spots. there are going to be about 75 of you in attendance. Parking can be tight at the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. So what we ask is that if you know other people who are here, if you can carpool with them from the hotel or from your school or whatever. Again, it goes back to the green facility anyway, less emissions, just carpool if you can. We've never had anyone not be able to get a spot, so it's never been a real problem. But we just ask that, no, the hotel's not within walking distance. Sorry, Rob. It's like a 15-minute drive, so I don't know what that equates to in walking, but a really long time, I think. So no, not within walking distance. So we just ask that you carpool. Last thing here is COVID-19 protocols. So the Chesapeake Bay Foundation, in accordance with CDC guidelines, says if you're fully vaccinated, no need to wear a mask. You can if you need to. If you're electing to wear one, feel free to, but it's not a requirement. But if you are unvaccinated, then we do ask that you do wear a mask for the safety of yourself and for everyone else in the room. The room is tight, I will say that. So social distancing is not super easy at the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. So it is really important that we follow these masking guidelines because social distancing is not super easy to do there. Sharon asked about the shuttle. So we don't know what hotel we're at yet, so we don't know if a shuttle will be available. And most of the shuttles that we found in Annapolis will take you downtown, but they're not going to take you to the Chesapeake Bay Foundation because it's not downtown. They tend to just go to just to one place and then back. But it's good. It's something for us to look into. We can look into that, but I don't have an answer for you just yet if that's a possibility because we don't know what hotel we're going to be at just yet. So a few other things, logistics. Again, I mentioned that breakfast will be provided one day by us at MSDE, the next day by American College of Education. It's a light breakfast. We'll have coffee, pastries, maybe some fruit, some prepackaged stuff. Again, because of COVID, we're not going to have everyone's hands in a bagel tray and stuff like that. We're going to try to really keep things as separated and safe as possible for you. If you're uncomfortable with the fact that other people will be touching the coffee and touching the boxes and things, then you might want to bring your own breakfast or have breakfast before you arrive, because it will be kind of a shared breakfast space. Lunch will be on your own. Traditionally, we've done group lunches, like potluck lunches. Again, because of COVID, we've opted to just send everyone out and do lunch on your own. There's nothing really, really close to the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. So what we are doing is we're compiling a list of what are the closest places to eat lunch, how many miles away they are from Chesapeake Bay Foundation, what type of food they offer, and we're going to put that list in the shared folder for you so you can kind of plan ahead about what you want to do for lunch. Another option is to grab something and bring it in on your way in. They do have a refrigerator. They do have a stove. They don't have a microwave, which is really odd to me. I don't know if it's the green space thing, but the last few years, at least, they haven't had a microwave. So if you want to enjoy the facilities, which will be me, I will not be going out for lunch. I'm probably going to stop and grab a salad or a cold sandwich somewhere on my way in, and I'm going to bring that and put it in the fridge, and then I'm going to sit out on the beach at the picnic tables and have my lunch there. That's what I'm going to do. But if you enjoy going out and being in a restaurant instead of being outside, then you'll have enough time to do that. Jen, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we did 1 hour and 15 for lunch in the agenda. Yeah.
Yes.
So you'll have 1 hour and 15 minutes, which, given driving, a lot, 15 minutes each way for driving, that gives you a 45-minute lunch to eat, basically. So lunch would be on your own. Dinner, this was in the past, we've never organized any dinners. We've just let the school teams go out and do their own thing, but it came up as feedback, as a suggestion for improvement from a previous year, last year. And we thought it was a great idea to organize some dinner. So probably what we'll do is anyone who wants to be a part of an organized dinner, we're going to pick a few spots, maybe 2 or 3, and we'll say, if you're interested in attending this organized dinner, we'll maybe do taco, like a Mexican place, and then maybe like a seafood place, and then maybe like an Italian place, and people can sign up and we'll pick a time to go, and you can go and kind of network again with some other individuals. Or if you are kind of tired of looking at everyone's face and you just need to go do your own thing because your socialization stamina is down due to COVID, like mine is, then you can obviously go do your own thing for dinner as well. We do ask that if you're active on social media that you tweet, take as many pictures as you want, hashtag, share what's happening. We have the 2 hashtags MDTL Summit 21 and then hashtag TTL Teach to Lead. We will have all of these digital resources for you that we've been talking about, the agenda, all the PowerPoints, the recording of this webinar is going to be in this folder. Jen, can you drop the link in the chat? The tiny URL is there, but if you're not familiar with tiny URLs, they are case sensitive. So if you're trying to type it in and you get an error message, it's probably a case issue. So the tiny URL part is lowercase, and then the TTL part is capitalized. So if you're getting an error message, it's likely due to an issue with the case sensitivities. So all the resources that you need are going to be there in that shared folder. Right now, what you'll see is a copy of the logic model template. You'll see a sample logic model. I think you'll see the agenda in there, and I think that might be it for now. But we'll be dropping other resources in there for you for the day of the event. If you cannot make it, if you need to cancel your hotel room, if you didn't ask for a hotel room and now you need one, if there's anything logistical that's changing for you, please email Jen Wojcik as soon as you can. Whenever you know of that change, please let us know. I think, oh, nope, one more slide. So a couple of things that we ask you to bring. Number one is your ideas. We know that you've already got them, you've already put them down on your application, but be thinking between now and summit time about ideas that you have for your project. It's likely been quite a while since you visited this idea. Applications were due quite a few months ago. So revisit that application, revisit your ideas, and come with some fresh thoughts. You might want to bring any relevant resources that pertain to your project. So for example, if you're a school that is planning to leverage teacher leadership in a way to reduce negative student behaviors, you might want to have some student disciplinary information, referral data. How do you know this is a problem? You might want to have with you some ideas of what you've done before. Have you done PBIS programs? Have you done multi-tiered systems of supports? So any resources that pertain to your need or to your plan, you'll want to bring those with you. Obviously, an open mind. Again, you heard my advice to your critical friends. Push, 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 challenge. So be open to the thoughts of other people in your group. Be open to the feedback that you're getting from your critical friend, and also the feedback that you get in those consideration rotations. You know, that's all part of this process, is leveraging this collective IQ that we have in the room. You will need your own computer. You'll see once you start looking at those digital resources, we have 2 different templates for you to work on your logic model. One is a Google Doc, and we do know that some school systems don't have access to Google. So we also have a PDF template. It's an editable PDF template. I will say the PDF template can be persnickety. So we really encourage teams to use the Google Doc if they can. So if you're all working on this document together, you'll want to have a laptop and your charger with you, obviously. If you don't have a laptop you can just share with someone who's in your group, obviously. But if you have it, it's a good idea to bring it. If you have business cards, you'll want to bring those. Again, networking opportunities. It's an easy way to share your information with your colleagues. If you have business cards, you want to bring those. Casual clothing. This is a casual event, so please don't feel the need to wear a dress, a skirt, a tie, a collared shirt, gentlemen. You really don't need to dress formally. This is an informal event. We want you to be comfortable. Again, it's on the water. We want you to feel comfortable going down in the sand and hanging out on the beach for lunch. So dress casually, as casually as you're comfortable dressing. Sunglasses, sunscreen, bug spray. If you plan to spend time outside, you might want to bring some of that. If you're super pale like me and you haven't been able to get out into the sun yet, you'll definitely burn up that hour and 15 minutes that you're out eating lunch. So I think, yeah, last slide to pause for questions. Any logistical questions at this point? Yes, Sierra, this meeting's being recorded. The PowerPoint and the recording of the meeting will be in the folder that Jen dropped the link to in the chat. So it'll be there probably at the end of the day today. So you can share that recording with people who weren't able to make it. You're welcome.
I too have a question. Good afternoon. You mentioned that you only have limited parking spaces. So, what is the cost for parking if you're not afforded that opportunity to get one of the free parking spots?
You'll get a spot. There's no there's no it's not a garage. It's just that it's free parking, but the Chesapeake Bay Foundation has other events that happen at the same time in that space. And so what they say is basically you guys can't hog all the spots. You can have 40 and then there needs to be spots for our other programs that are happening that same time. So there's no feed parking anywhere near there. But we just ask that, we try to be respectful of the fact that they have other programming happening and that there will be other people in and out of the space.
Thank you.
Sure. It's also a good incentive to get there on time or early. Okay, any other questions?
I just wanted to clarify, you did say that we're going to get sent this, because I was on another call, so I came in late.
It is not going to be sent to you, but it's going to be dropped into the folder.
Which folder?
In the chat, you'll see a link from Jennifer Wojcik. That's a tiny URL, and maybe Jen, you might need to copy and paste it again. If Manaya just joined, it might not be there.
Thanks.
Yeah, there we go. So all the resources will be in that folder.
Perfect.
Okay. So I think at this time, Jen, are you all set for breakouts?
I am. I have everyone set to go in what I hope is their correct